Hello everyone, welcome to another video where we will actually be talking about on how to plan your answers or your essays for capstone exam. So now I would like to remind here this video is only targeted for students who are actually writing HKICPA Capstone exam, which is your final last exam. So good luck on that. You must pass, so you have to work hard on that. And it's a case study based exam. Your exam is coming up very soon, I believe. So this is a video where I would actually talk about on how you can plan your essays and generally speaking, how do you write essays? You have to write essays. It's a case study based exam, right? So starting with introduction first, right? So first part of your essay will include introduction, right? So that's very general. And what do you write in introduction? That's the important thing that you need to understand what you would cover in introduction, right? So whenever you start your essay writing, you must plan your answer. You must plan your answer. So how do you do that? You write your pointers, basically, write your pointers. So whatever you need to talk about, just write them somewhere on a scratch paper or some paper which is empty or blank, right? So you just write down the points and then you can convert them into writing or proper essay forms, right? So don't start writing and then think while writing, because it's going to waste a lot of your time. So if you want to save time, then you must write down your points that you need to talk about in that essay, and then you can start writing in proper sentence, right? So starting with introduction, what you can do for introduction is you can restate the case facts, right? So there could be several, right? So you can look at the question and then you can restate what what kind of case facts you are going to look at or will be relevant for your answers in the body paragraphs that we will talk about in the later in this video, but it's in the later part, right? So you can restate the fact, you can restate the situation, what kind of situation business is facing, you can restate that, right? So the examiner who is marking knows what they are expecting in the answer, right? What you have talked about in the answer as well, right? So what the essay will talk about, that's the next thing, right? So I have a simple example here. So for example, the business or the company is actually planning to make some investments, right? To or looking for some investment opportunities to grow their business, right? So business is looking for some investment opportunities. That's the situation, and they want to do simply because they want to grow their business, right? So every business wants to grow, and one way to grow your business or any other business is by looking at investment opportunities, right? So in the case study, you might see that business might have outlined some investment opportunities that they are considering, and they would be mentioned in your case study. You must study them beforehand before going to the exam, right? So that this could be a very expected question once you have read your case study. If you haven't watched my video on how to prepare for capstone exam, you can for sure watch that. It's already on my YouTube channel, so you should definitely watch that video, right? So you can study on what investment opportunities and do some research on that, right? So they would be mentioned in the case study. And then in this essay, we will look at the suitable, right? So how do you, so right, that's one, to analyze investment opportunities, one of the framework is you look at suitability, you look at the feasibility, you look at acceptability and risks, right? So these are the things that you look at when analyzing investment opportunity, right? So what do we mean by suitability? If you're confused, what does suitability, feasibility, and acceptability and risks mean? I have definitions in the bracket here. So suitability basically means relates to a company strategy, right? So it should be in line with what company plans to do, right? So it should meet the overall strategy of the business. It should be in line with the overall strategy of the business. If it's not, then it's not something the business would like to do, right? Because there would be a lot more risk involved in over there, right? So you see, you have to actually connect things together. That's the case study based exam, and that's the challenge. That's the hardest part of this exam. Then you look at feasibility, right? So which refers to the company resources, whether the company has enough resources or not. Then you look at acceptability, whether shareholders will accept or not. And then risks, as you know what risks are, it's very common. It's a common term used in business. So by now, if you are at a capstone module, you must know what risks mean and what's the definition of risks, right? So in other words, when it comes to introduction, you simply need to restate you simply need to restate the facts, restate the case facts, and mention what your essay is going to talk about, right? So these would be the two most important things when you're writing an introduction, and it should not take more than one paragraph. So you can devote one paragraph for introduction, I would say. You can take more than one paragraphs, but then it's going to be a little doubtful, because usually introductions are for one paragraph, and you can very well summarize your case facts and other things that you need to mention in that one paragraph for introduction. So now let's look at what do we mean by body paragraphs here, right? So that's the most important, where your, the chunk of answer, the main main aspect of your answer will be over there, right? So several body paragraphs, there's no, there's no number over there. It could be as many as you'd like, right? So you could have several body paragraphs where you will address in detail the main content of the question, right? So you will address the question. This is the part where you will address the question that the examiner is asking you, right? So in body paragraphs, you may discuss each. So like I'm continuing with the above example, where you remember that the question is, the business is planning to invest in different opportunities that they might have spotted already in the case study, right? So what you do in your body paragraphs for this is you will talk about each investment option, right? So there could be 2 to 3 investment options, or maybe 1 to 2 investment options. So right, so you will talk about those 1 to 2 investment options in detail. So for example, you would talk about the suitability, feasibility, acceptability, and risks. That would be in your body paragraphs in detail. You would actually talk about in detail. You would go in depth of those factors over there and look at its suitability, feasibility, right? So that's what I mentioned in here. And the most important thing is to link it with the company and case situation, right? This is very important. This is very important. Otherwise, your answers would be considered as incompetent answers, and there are higher chances of then failing the exam rather than passing the exam. And it counts for 75% of your overall grade, right? So your written exam actually counts 75% of your overall grade for your capstone exam. So I have a small example here. What do I mean by, what do I mean by this about statements here? So for example, the main business operation is providing financial services, right? So the general business, so the main business activity, or let's say the main business activity, is about providing financial services. It's a company which provides financial services, right? And they plan to acquire and running a restaurant, right? Now, these are two different things. Financial services company may acquire, but they may not run. That's a different situation. But if the question is saying acquiring and running a restaurant, then it's a bit, it's a red flag over there. It's a financial services company, but they plan to acquire and run the restaurant, right? So they might be actively involved in running restaurant operations for which they may not have any experience, right? So such an investment may not be suitable or feasible for financial services business, right? So it's not in line with overall business strategy, right? It's not in line. It's probably not in line with overall business objectives as well. However, it depends, right? It depends. You have to look at the whole situation. You have to look at holistically the whole situation in the case study. For this is just a very simple example. This is a very simple example, right? So I can assume whatever I want in here, but you must not do so. This is for example purposes, right? So you must read the case study very carefully and try to link what you are talking about. You have to be very careful. It cannot be, you're saying something and you mean something else. Then these things are not in line, and therefore, you're presenting a conflicting answer, and that's a recipe for disaster. So you don't want to do that. After you have written your introduction and several different body paragraphs, after you have been done with that part, then you can actually work on your conclusion, right? So conclusion again would be just 1 to 2 paragraphs. A conclusion should not be more than that. You are just summarizing. That's just a summary. So it must be one, at most 2 paragraphs, but it should not take more than that, right? So where you will summarize your findings, or you will make the recommendation based on your reasoning in the body paragraphs, right? So you will sum up everything, what you have talked about in introduction and the body paragraphs. If you want, you can actually restate facts from introduction as well in your conclusion. That's fine, but do not take more than 2 paragraphs to answer to write your conclusion, because it's just a summary of everything that you have talked about. That's why it's called conclusion. There's a reason why it's called conclusion, right? So you sum up what would you advise based on your analysis. This shows your business acumen and leadership, right? So these are common components tested in Capstone, right? So business acumen and leadership is something that they're actively, examiners are actively testing this part. They're actively testing this part, right? So that's why I say, that's why I would like to again emphasize that you do not want to say something but mean something else, because then you're presenting a conflicting answer over there and lack business acumen and leadership qualities over there. Right. So if you want more examples, you can refer to past exams and pilot exams, which are available in your QP Learning Center. Of course, I cannot talk about those because of copyright issues in here. So you can refer to QP Learning Center for more examples, past papers and pilot papers, which have been made available by HKICPA. I hope you find this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like these. Thank you very much.